And welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. It's time for Opinion Court. Please use the hashtag Opinion Court on social media. It allows us to track your conversation. Reach out to us on 22422. That's our SMS line. And online at Citizen TV Kenya, at Citizen TV News. I'm at Ann Kiguta. That's Ann with an E. And on Facebook, you could find us going by those respective names. Let me reintroduce my panel to you. To my immediate right, Kimani Waishungwa. He is the Kikuyu Member of Parliament. In the middle is Edward Kisiangani, our resident political analyst. And across from me is Gem MP Jacoyo Midiwo, who also is the Deputy Minority Leader in the National Assembly. You're all welcome to the program. We are discussing a new bid by Parliament to probe the Waki report, or rather the Commission of Inquiry into Post-Election Violence report. You'll remember that was headed by Justice Philip Waki. It was part of the negotiated, if you like, end of post-election violence in 2007-2008, spearheaded by the former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. This latest debate has come up in the context of the Deputy President's ongoing case at the ICC, a case in which a section of Kenyan legislators claim that the court is acting rogue. Sides of the political divide have claimed that some sort of fixing went on. With that in mind, is that reason enough to probe the findings of the Waki Commission? No,
it is not reason enough. I think both sides of the political divide are chasing, each party is chasing their own personal interests. It's about self-preservation. They want to see whether the Waki Commission, probing the Waki Commission, would probably add some value to the goals they are chasing. It's not enough. I think what you need to know is that the Waki report was a comprehensive report. In some cases, if you look at the internet report, it's about 550 pages. It's a huge paper, a huge thing, and it made several recommendations. There are certain things which are really straightforward true. You can't focus on the idea of witnesses alone and forget what Waki said about the behavior of the security forces, how security forces dealt with certain people when they reported crime during the post-election violence, how the Waki report incriminated certain organs of government. These are things that are very, very serious. So when you start probing the Waki report, if, for example, William Ruto was not arraigned before the court at The Hague, would you have asked for this? And even the person who came up with the idea of fixing, if you are talking about fixing of so-and-so, do we even know the witnesses themselves? Because who speaks for the witnesses? If the witnesses were able to come and say, yes, I gave evidence because I was told to fix so-and-so, and they can still repeat that without any bias, then we can say, this witness is saying this and the consequences are there. So really for me, the question of whether or not that is enough to go back to the issue, it doesn't arise. All right,
Kimani, what do you hope to achieve by opening up this kind of worms, it seems?
Let me say what Prof is saying is feigning a lot of ignorance on what happened in Parliament, because any report, and Jacoy will agree with me, in the 10th Parliament, they did amend the law to facilitate the tabling of all commissions of inquiry reports to the floor of Parliament. And therefore, Parliament had an obligation in the 10th Parliament, when that report was tabled, I think in December of 2008, to have that report debated, and not for the House to approve, but just to note the contents of that report. That has never happened. And I think it is time, and we're saying it's time we came back to reality and said, indeed, Parliament had an obligation to note the contents of the Waki report. But even as Parliament notes the contents of the Waki report, a lot of water has passed under the bridge. A lot of things have changed. We have seen people coming out, as you said, on both sides of the coalition, admitting that indeed they did coach witnesses. And case in point is the case of Moses Kuria, who has come out and categorically stated that he did, in fact, procure witnesses to testify before the Waki Commission. And that is all that the Select Committee seeks to do. The Select Committee will look at the process through which the Waki Commission got their evidence. How did they get to get the witnesses who adduced evidence before them in coming up with this report? So that as members of parliament note the contents of the Waki report, they will also benefit from that other knowledge that is coming to light now. And that is well within the powers of parliament, and Jacoy will tell you, any report that comes to the floor of parliament is relegated to a committee. And all we have said is before this is even relegated to a committee, for the committee to bring it to the floor of the House, as Professor says, it's a huge report, over 500 pages. You cannot discuss a report that's 500 pages. It has to go to a committee. And
you also want to know what's in the envelope?
I think that is a fear that informs the kind of resistance you've seen with some of our colleagues like the Honorable Jacoy, who spoke at length yesterday against the establishment of the Select Committee. And we're looking at a Select Committee that is bipartisan, with members from both sides of the coalition.
Yeah, 10 Jubilee legislators and 5 opposition MPs seems a little fixed in your favor.
Let me say it is not 10 Jubilee per se, because we have looked at even representation of the very small political parties, the minor minority political parties within the House. So when you look at the CORD coalition, don't just look at ODM and their brides in the coalition. But I want to say that
ODM and their bribes, oh dear.
Their brides in the coalition, you know, the other small minority party, I don't know, I can't remember the name of that party, the party of Kalonzo Musyoka. The issues that this Select Committee will be looking into are issues that Jacoy Midiwo and those who were there then need not fear. And I know what
But you haven't answered my question. Do you want that Waki envelope somehow opened?
Indeed, nobody is interested in the Waki envelope. The Waki envelope, for your information, is not part of the report. The Waki envelope is the ICC. Kofi Annan gave it to Moreno Ocampo. We are not going to be calling Moreno Ocampo to the Select Committee.
You invite the Honorable Jacoy Midiwo, and if you look at what Waki said, he said that, look, if you want us to move forward as a country after the post-election violence, we would like to have a local tribunal to look at these allegations. In fact, Waki agrees that some of the things require further investigations, some of the allegations in that. The PNU regime, now by extension what you are seeing with some members of parliament within the ruling coalition, have completely rejected that bit. Even as they accuse the ICC, there is no local tribunal to find out. So for me, if they really want to revisit the Waki report, it is not these interested parties like ODM and the former PNU who are now Jubilee, but there must be a judicial process, local judicial process, which can vet the veracity of the Waki report.
Jacoy, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, let me say that members of parliament have no capacity to authenticate the Waki report. Remember, the Waki report was an on-spot report. They were dealing with the actual violence. There is no violence live that an ordinary member of parliament without capacity can conduct. I've been wondering for a long time what was the objective of the people who are trying to establish this Select Committee. And is this a Jubilee committee? Because if you look at the MPs from CORD that they took, I am the leader, deputy leader of CORD in the House. They never asked me for the MPs, I think, have that capacity, and they never asked me to agree on the numbers. So even if you look at the MPs they took, number one, they didn't ask me. Number two, there are MPs that a couple of them are at war with CORD. So in other words, they want to sanitize something. Exactly. So what am I saying?
So it's an entire Jubilee.
It's an entire Jubilee. But what are they intending to do? You know, truth must come out. And let me tell my young brother Kimani that it'd be nice to know what is in the envelope. And if you cannot say a committee that is informed to look at a report cannot reach at the names of the people in there, and the Waki is a Kenyan. You can summon him. Ask him I mean, nothing stops you from asking him. But this is the issue. Kenyans must know the truth once and for all. Because I am a member of the ODM party. I'm the leader of the ODM party in the National Assembly. Have been there since post-election violence. Followed this thing. We have been intimidated almost to our grave by this thing of fixing. In fact, last election was based on ODM having fixed William, Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta. Now it's before us.
And now you're also admitting that fixing took place. You're just disputing who fixed who.
Exactly. That's true. And that we are not admitting. We have always said so. Because we knew. Let me tell you, when the Waki report came, out, I was on my way to the U.S. alongside with my late George Duo, who has died also under very mysterious circumstances, and Honorable Marendi. I called. I remember talking to the deputy president when I was at the airport. I said, this thing has come out. I've been informed by a member of the Fourth Estate that it has names of our people. Please let us discuss before we begin blaming each other, because the intention is to destroy us, and they succeeded somewhat. Now the chicken has come home to roost. We want to know, and we are going to demand to know why the president, who has the duty and has the sole authority to recall the so-called exhibit 19 and 19A, which in that exhibit, and I don't fear to say so, the fixers fixed the president and fixed the deputy president.
And who were the fixers?
The fixers were the government. Then Raila was
which arm of government?
The PNU arm of government. The people who...
I mean, perhaps I didn't say that right. Which office of government?
The NIS, the National Intelligence Services, which was totally, generally, a participant in the rigging of the 2007 election.
Which is what you allege.
Which is what happened, what led to the death of many Kenyans, which is what led to what you are seeing in the Rift Valley today. Only as lately as last Sunday, you saw the deputy president giving people checks out of IDP camps. So it's not a small matter. So MPs cannot trivialize this issue.
Let me take you back. You just said, sorry, because you started by saying Kenyans need to know the truth.
Yeah.
Yet at the same time, you've said basically that reopening this discussion on Waki is going to deepen wounds. So what truth are you seeking to know, and how are you going to arrive at it if probing the Waki findings is not the route?
Well, for me, I thought the Jubilee coalition would think that they don't want those wounds open. Personally, because they have been going to these prayer meetings every week and saying Raila should say what he knows. Raila fixed Ruto, while Uhuru is sitting in office. Uhuru was a supporter of Kibaki in 2007 elections. And
there's a contradiction.
And I'll let you talk. Let me talk, sir. And in that melee, the people who there was within PNU wanted Uhuru out. They put his name there. They said Ruto is the one who gave Raila the strength to win. He had to go. Now all we are asking is simple. If, and I said yesterday, one Moses Kuria, I believe he belongs in prison. There is no way, there is no day.
Surely give the man a day in court.
No, you can't. If I was the person in power, and I think the people in power are behind him, there's no way you can perjure yourself. William Ruto and Arab Sang have agonized for 7 years. And this guy is walking the street saying he coached people to take them to ICC. I mean, which country is that? But let me say this.
Briefly, sir, so that we can bring in the rest of the panel.
Yes. This government, if what Moses Kuria says is true, Uhuru Kenyatta owes it to Kenyans to tell ICC that we in government, because Moses Kuria is a Jubilee MP is a protege of the president. We have established that the evidence in 19 and 19A is fake. Please bring it back. And
all right.
we'll have our brothers back.
Kimani, I'm sure you want to respond to what you said, but also please touch on the fact that he's talked about this is reopening old wounds and that you should be the last ones to do that. This Waki process that you are fielding, is this not selfishness on the part of the political class, that on one hand you've been telling Kenyans all this time that we've healed as a country, we've moved on, and then you're saying no, but now we have not really healed and we can't heal because some evidence was false, so that you open our wounds when you want to, when it's politically convenient, and close them when it serves your own expediency?
I think, and we need to be honest with ourselves, and as answered, we said we are not reopening the Waki report. The Select Committee is not reopening the Waki report. The Select Committee is looking at the process through which the Waki Commission obtained the evidence and how they got their witnesses, and the issues of Moses Kuria, Raila Odinga, who has also come out to say and speak about coaching of witnesses and fixing people, will now have an opportunity to tell Kenyans what they did then and what they know. But I want to say something that about what Miduo has spoken about on what they are calling Exhibit 19 and 19A. I was not in that Sumkata government, so I do not know what those exhibits contain. But it is rather hypocritical for Raila Odinga and Jacoy Miduo, his cousin here, to tell us that Uhuru Kenyatta is the one who should be recalling that evidence. Whereas, at the time that evidence was adduced by NSIS, if it was NSIS Jacoyo, Raila Odinga was a core principal in that government. He was privy to all intelligence reports every single morning during the Grand Coalition government. If truly Raila Odinga had any intentions of helping his comrade then, William Ruto, the time to act would have been then. But we're only saying that those who were in government, and you put it well, that the fixers were in government. There were fixers on the PNU side, there were fixers on the ODM side. And those, let me finish, Prof, because Raila Odinga had the perfect opportunity. Raila Odinga has been silent for 7 good years. It has taken the prayers that Raila Odinga was asking in 2013, kwa nini mnaombaomba Kenya nzima, and those 2 criminals ought to be in jail. Raila Odinga in 2013 believed Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto were 2 criminals who ought to be in jail. Today, he calls William Ruto his comrade. It was Raila Odinga, Midiwo, and your own party. Let me finish. Let me finish. Your own party in 2013.
Let him finish making his point, then you can respond.
2013. It is your own party, the Secretary General of your party, Professor Nyang'nyong'o, with the direct consent of one Raila Amolo Odinga, who wrote to the UN Security Council when Kenyans sought to heal and move forward and sought a referral or deferral of the cases back to the country. And your own political party, in which William Ruto was still a deputy party leader, wrote to the UN Security Council and said your party objects. Raila Odinga and Anyang' were saying that we lack the investigative capacity, we lack the judicial mechanism to move forward. And therefore,
very briefly, Jacoyo,
because you know, first of all,
yes,
I have never heard Raila say Ruto is guilty or Uhuru is guilty.
It's on record.
There is, but I want to also correct this. The reason why Uhuru has to, if he means well for Ruto, to be the one to recall 19 and 19A is because he is the president. If Raila was the president, we would still be asking him to do that. Let him wake up and do his job. This is his job as the president.
How does Uhuru recall something that's in ICC?
Let me say this. Let me just say this. The Serena Accord embedded in it the principle of consultation. When the PNU wing went and asked for the deferrals, they never consulted us. So we told the UN we are not consulted. You people don't want to live within the law.
One faction of ODM did right.
Pause. Yeah. I'll have to ask you to pause on that because I want us to move forward. And Prof, let me come to you. It seems very much mirroring the conversation of last week, where one really wonders whether this conversation does Kenya good, whether this conversation brings Kenya closer. Does it reopen old wounds? Have we healed correctly? Kimani has talked about 7 years later is when the Honorable Raila Odinga is talking about, discrepancies, perhaps a fixing issue. It's 7 years later that Parliament is thinking, let's probe what happened, in the Waki report. Is all of this just a little too convenient for you and all about political expediency, again, at the expense of Kenyans?
And I've already spoken on this matter, and I've said this is a debate that is wasting our time. Parliament has wasted our time by even discussing this useless thing. It is useless. It has nothing. It only promotes personal egos and, of course, promotes, ethnic hostilities. That's what we're going at.
How do we stop them, though? And do you think media should ignore it as well when such an important emotional debate is happening in the House?
You see, they should stop it. We are telling Parliament...
How do we stop it?
I mean, we are telling them, they are here. This is Parliament. We are talking to Parliament from the streets, Anne. I'm on the streets with you, talking to Parliament, because we can't go there. We are not elected to go there. But we're telling them, what you are discussing is dangerous for this country. Look at the way they are talking. Somebody says so-and-so is fixed, and then it didn't mention her name. Every politician has some supporters, and these supporters will always take sides. Why, for example, you can ask yourself a question. Why is the question of Moses Kuria talking about coaching witnesses coming immediately after? I mean, after the president has been, his case has collapsed. Anne, we must ask such a questions. If you want to know the motive behind this campaign, this desperate campaign to win certain people on a particular side, you should even ask the timing. It's not even 7 years. Why is it coming after Uhuru's case has collapsed?
Good question. We must find out, but I want you to take a look at some of the feedback that's coming in, and then you will respond with your final take. Let's take a look at what you're saying, and thank you so much for sending it in. MPs will only consider their own selfish interests in the probe. They shouldn't handle it. I tend to believe so, because why until now? Why did they not discuss it immediately? ICC summoned our beloved brothers. So the question of 7 years timing coming up. Let's not backpedal the country. Let our politicians pray for the victims, the orphans, refugees of PEV. Opening Waki report will open PEV wounds. Witnesses may have, I don't know if, that witnesses may have, perhaps that's what you're saying. Kenyans should not be scared to revisit the Waki report. We want to know the truth and the content of the report. A final one here. We can't solve a problem with the same mindset that created it. Revisiting the report isn't good for our healing. And gentlemen, as you can see, reconciliation, peace, healing the country, moving forward, being what Kenyans are really concerned about. I will come to you, each one of you, to give us your bottom line on this debate. I'll start with you, Kimani.
Let me say, for us to heal as a country and for true reconciliation to be there, we must be ready to confront the truth as it were in 2007, 2008. And we cannot heal without the truth. And all that the Select Committee will be seeking to do is to unravel the truth. And I want to be emphatic again. It is not reopening. Indeed, the Waki Commission did a very good job. And nobody is intent on reopening the report. We just want to look at the process because of what has come to light. And that will inform. Again, let me also be quick to point out something that has been said here, that Moses Kuria has spoken about coaching of witnesses for ICC. I think Moses Kuria has been very emphatic that he did say he coached witnesses for the Waki Commission and the Kriegler Commission, not for ICC, because nobody knows who the witnesses at ICC are.
All right, Jacoya.
But if Moses Kuria coached for Waki, and the Waki evidence is the evidence against William Ruto, please give me a break. Moses Kuria coached witnesses for ICC because it is that evidence.
How did you know that?
The intelligence. How come when Ruto's lawyers asked the government to hand over intelligence report, the same government that Ruto is the DP? Let me tell you something.
Your bottom line, sir. Your bottom line.
My bottom line is, if we want William Ruto, and we all think, I know for a fact, I want to tell you that I don't like William Ruto very much. But
Okay.
I want to tell you,
And that's, you know, for a fact.
I believe in his innocence.
But you believe in his innocence.
I believe in his innocence. But what I'm seeing is the hypocrisy of monumental nature. Because the same people, they are pointing at us while it is there. It is there with him. William Ruto needs to know that we wish him well. We have said, Raila said we will testify. I know I was there. I am willing. But what I am saying, the bottom line is, this country needs peace. The country needs to come together. But please, Jubilee, drop the hypocrisy. Leave our brother Ruto alone.
So for me,
hypocrisy is the master of the defeat.
For me, Anne, the best way to handle this matter, I'll pick from what Mheshimiwa Kimani Ichung'wah has said. We want the nation to heal. And that's why I don't want this debate to go the way it is going. And the way the nation should heal is for Parliament to abandon this useless behavior of engaging our public time, because we have elected you to go to Parliament to do important things, to engage us on how we can stop corruption, how we can stop ethnicity in government, how we can stop rigging of elections. These are things which, how we can fix the education sector. There are so many inequalities, poverty levels, which cause people to recede into their tribal cocoons. And when elections come, they vote from the point of our tribe, because they are fearing if we get somebody who is not from our community, we probably will be poor, we shall not get jobs, and so on. So once we do that, Anne, addressing the social problems which were there in 2007 and caused the violence, and they are still there in 2015, once Parliament does that, the healing process will be facilitated.
The bottom line on Opinion Court, I thank you all for your views. We're back with more news after this.